Thank you for joining me for another Quick Hits conversation. I'm Dr. Robyn. With me today, I have Chuck Groot, Sara Oblak Speicher, and Atif Agha. I want to ask the question, what does it mean to be a thought leader? Sara, can you kick us off?
I love this topic so much. And I honestly had to Google it up because there's just so many definitions of leadership. And one of the ones that comes up is being recognized as an authority in a specific field, which then again opened the whole can of worms. Like, what is even an authority, especially in today's world when so much of it is manufactured? There's literally science behind how to position and market yourself as an authority, even when you necessarily don't have anything important to say or important, new, or any, those superlative. I think what it comes down to me, for example, is just like you can't explain to somebody and claim I am a leader, now you're going to follow me. It has to come from people around you. You are either recognized as one or you're not. I know for myself, I was really surprised a couple of times when I was contacted to contribute to thought leadership publications, or when people called me a thought leader, and I thought to myself, well, I don't have millions of followers. How can I possibly be a thought leader? What does it even mean? But it was just something that I was like, well, let's just start by being curious.
Mm-hmm.
I love that, Sara. The fact that you say, let's start by being curious. And I think that's one of the biggest gifts that I've been given from my parents, is the fact that I have a huge bump of curiosity. And I don't necessarily have to be a leader in the lineup of an organization or of a family or anything else. I just have to have this huge bump of curiosity, which I could take forward and continue my journey, continue my learning. And oddly enough, whenever you start talking with other people, the questions start revolving around some of the things you just learned. And by being a thought leader isn't necessarily that you are an expert, but the fact is you have something to participate with. Even start the process, which is what you said, having that start with the curiosity.
I think, I think we touched a couple of good points. We live in a very different world where everybody has instant access to giving feedback. So you can follow whoever you want, you can look at people, and I think that inspiration speaks for itself. So if you are an inspiring person, you may develop yourself over time as a thought leader in a certain area. Look at Elon Musk, for example, and other people. I mean, these are not really the genius behind it. It's the people who work for them, but they have taken some of the great concepts forward and are considered a thought leader in that area. So if they come out and say something, people will take it seriously. People will regard that, and they have a big following as well. So that's one thing in terms of how today's world and the technology has enabled people to really pick and choose and make that decision. Who is the thought leader in that process? So what really it means to be a thought leader is have that kind of following, have the genuine curiosity in a certain area that you actually bring an innovative idea forward. Right? And if you look at the people who really made a dent or made some innovative changes in the world, they are the one who considered authority in a new concept. So that's what I look at it. You really have to be genuinely involved in that. You have to really be able to speak, have that executive or sort of a following that you need to take that concept forward. I think it takes back to that book that, Robyn, we were talking about, right? Where this charisma can be developed over time. So you could become a thought leader in that area.
I do wonder, does being a thought leader require having some kind of massive following, or can you be a thought leader in your small little space? And I think the answer is yes, you can be a thought leader in your little orbit or in a broader orbit. But I think we do think about it more about in the broad sense. And I am concerned that thought leaders may not actually have thoughts that are worth following.
And that can very well be true. I think you could speak a little bit more about that, the ego boundaries that we build. So is that the space that we maybe consider really a leader in that small space? A teacher could be a thought leader for the students they're teaching. So it's a small group, but they could be highly regarded for the process and thing that they are teaching to their students. I agree with you. It doesn't have to have a following, but that's how it starts. You have to have some following, and it kind of could grow if you really work in that direction.
Well, you have to at least have a thought. That much we know. You have to have a thought.
And I'd even say that sometimes just emerging as a thought leader can be really discouraging, because sometimes it feels like you're talking into a void when you have something new to say that's not proven yet, that's not being exposed to the masses. You don't have that feedback. So I wonder how many actually just stop. Or I was just watching a movie with the kids when one of the kids there was very artistic but had a hard time following the instructions and the system itself. And it was just heart-wrenching, but it was a beautiful experience to actually express to my kids. And we had a whole different conversation then around being who you are and not always falling into the system. But now I lost my own thought here. Where I was going with this is, just because sometimes we are emerging as thought leaders, we don't follow and we don't confine into the boxes that have been designed for us to fit in. So it can require a lot of courage and a lot of stamina to persist and get over that initial bump before the masses discover you in the first place.
I've always wondered, how do I find the interesting people, the smart people, the creative people who don't have a massive following, who aren't on the first page when I do a search in a search engine? Like, how do I find those super interesting people? Because I want to know what they're thinking.
That is always the major dilemma, because this new form of communication with Zoom meetings and the internet and everything else has only blossomed in the last 15 years. It's only exploded in the last 5 years. A lot of these people are so busy doing what they're doing that their intention, I don't always believe that a thought leader's intention is to say, I'm thinking, listen to my thoughts.
Brene Brown is a good example of that.
Exactly. I'm thinking, I'm busy thinking, leave me alone. I know exactly what you mean. And it's basically through, I have a couple friends that are just this amazing thought leaders, but they're very insular. As a matter of fact, they're very, very private, and they do everything to protect their privacy. But they're always the ones that are picked out by people because someone says, well, you have a problem? Okay, this is the person that'll help you.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think we're mixing two words, right? Thought leader itself is considered, what is the definition of that? As Sara was saying, I Googled it too, and we're thinking about, it's a term that's used for people who are highly regarded in a certain area for their views and for their feedback or general perception on that. On the other hand, the people who are really creative, coming up with the actual ideas and actual solutions, may not be considered or known, just like you were saying, Robyn. They may not be considered a well-known people. They could be working in their basement, just creating a great idea, but that has to be taken to someone who can actually make it happen. So two different things, right? Creative people are always sometimes very introvert. They could be making a lot of great things, but they're always hard to find too.
Can you decide that you're a thought leader? Like, can I just announce, okay, as of now, I'm a thought leader? Or is that something a label that has to be given to you by others?
I think at one point when you embody it, you don't even have to say it anymore.
I think we all have creativity in us. It's just a matter of polishing that. Do we have those outlets? Do we flourish in that direction? We could become a thought leader in a certain area. It's just a matter of putting enough hours, enough thought, enough learning in that particular subject to become a thought leader for a small group or for your class or for your friends. And I think that can happen. It's not the goal. The goal is to really, if you are curious, if you are somewhat of a leader and you are a person who wants to help others, you will become a thought leader in that process.
Well, that's a good place for us to end. That is our 10 minutes. Thank you so much for having this conversation with me, and I look forward to doing it again with each of you very soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.